Yeah, thanks for joining today. I know this is extremely busy and it's going to be for the next several months. So, what I thought we could do as we tackle these next several months is do what we can to really start writing down and getting the documentation going. And anything I can do, Steve can do to help you do that. And that was by all means, we're here to help you. And then we also did the list of questions in order to help that get started as well. We are presenting at the Minnesota, sorry, not the Minnesota, but the National CGA meeting in October about our work team. So it would be nice to have just a little bit of a flushed out document. Not that we're going to show it, but I think especially the first two groups in terms of the mapping team and the flow team, and then a little bit on the regulations as well. So just keep everybody aware that we do have a deadline in October that we do have to have a presentation. So, but we have a good session today, and with that, we'll get going.
Okay, thank you, Barb. And for those that are in search of the agenda, which was sent out, we're going to do just one feature presentation today, quick fly through on the various group reports, and then we're going to spend the majority of our time on this subject. If you were king, queen for a day, the top fix you'd make happen. We'll do a roll call there to try to work our way through, collect some thoughts out of that. And so the admin updates that I got for you, I've got basically three. The first one is I just need to do a roster check here. Who is dialing in from 612-366-010 or 0301? Who would that be? Going once, going twice. Okay, we got a mystery guest. Okay, as it sits right now, we're working with the Clean Water Council. They're in the process of Paul Grant over there, or I'm sorry, Gardner, working to put together a policy statement for consideration by the entire Clean Water Council, and that should happen sometime during the month of May. I'll be working with him to get the language drafted to where it needs to be, and hopefully we can leverage that at some point in the future, yet to be determined. I've also got out a tickler over to Ian Ross at the Scottish Vault, looking for assistance on 4 things. I'm asking for him to provide a disclaimer for the login on the Vault, copy of that. We're looking to try to get a link or a copy of the legislation that was enacted in Scotland. And then I've done some work to run down the Vista project at Leeds University, Leeds, Leeds University. And I'm asking for him to try to connect us up with that. And last but not least, they have a service provider that does the data transformation, and I'm trying to get hooked up with them to see where that piece is at. Underground forum, again, at the bottom of the meeting note that I sent out. It's awareness. It's a free event. It's available online. It's over the border in Canada. Jeff Zeiss, who participates in this group, is running that. And there's a link in the email message I sent out that allow you to connect over there and see if there's anything of interest for you there. Future large group meetings, as you can see here, as I always do, the yellow annotates the next main meeting dates, preceded 6 days prior by the leadership meeting. Next month, we'll be looking for Troy and Nick from Technical Design Services to give us a 20-minute brief on virtual reality and 3D, kind of prime the thinking about where things are going in the future. And then Philip is going to come over from Utility Mapping Services. They're plugged into I don't know, it's 15 to 20 states now. And he'll be talking about the new ASCE standards that are getting ready to be approved. And then June 24th, The firm from Israel, 4M Analytics, will be on board to talk about their effort with using remote sensing for utility mapping. And let me check to see what we got going on here. Augmented reality and 3D. I'm sorry. So that's been corrected. Augmented reality 3D. There you go. Sorry about that. And with that, I think that concludes what we want to do for opening remarks. And that brings up Santosh. Okie doke. We're back at it, folks. Travis, that puts you on the floor. 5 minutes is your limit. If you want to report in on where you guys are with your mapping group.
The facility mapping group hasn't met since for 2 months now. I did talk to Joel a little bit earlier today. We just both are running ragged. So I told you guys last week that we just since this COVID is completely gone now, everybody's going crazy. So so it's taken up a lot of my time to just take care of customers and keep my head above float. So, but I have been working on the list of questions that Dean sent over, and I sent over something this morning or updated that. I don't know if you've seen that, but just trying to come up with some field attributes that are interested for the guys in the field doing the locating, and getting a basis on that. And I'll have to follow up with my team to go over all those field attributes and see if they concur or if there's some that need to be added. But I wanted to get something going there. We needed to get something at least scratched out. And then the more interesting thing that I've been working on or been busy is for our pilot program people that are out there using the software and using the locators and such. They've been asking for the web map feature services to get active, and so they can superimpose their maps that they are generating onto the one call ticket. So when they go out there to do the locate, they'll have their latest and greatest maps, and then they can compare it to what they're locating. And if they find something wrong, they can easily go back and do the correction then. And that's an important piece to the puzzle that should be out there for everybody. And so that's pretty exciting. As of this morning, we do have it working. So we are just going to start trying to roll that out to some of those pilot people and see how it goes. And for that, we are also bringing in to our FTP server the ability to bring in ticket management. And so we're putting on the ticket, actually having tickets put on our mapping system so they can go both ways if they wanted to. They can actually route their day and see where the latest tickets are, the closest tickets are, and go do them and compare it to their map. So it's trying to integrate everything into one. And so with the locator, with the GPS units, with the desktop mapping system, and that's moving right along. So we're making some good headway there. So that's
it'd be nice to see that. Yeah, Travis, it'd be nice to see that down the road. Just
I'm
share that with this group.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Appreciate it. That brings up Bob Bisquez. What do you got for your group? So I'll predate the comments by letting you all know that Brad Anderson, who previously had led the group, had to step away for personal reasons, and Bob is next man up. So here we go. Bob, you got the floor.
Yeah, I haven't really caught up on anything since last week. Was it just last week? Seems like it was a long time ago. So not really too much new to report. Just it's been more of a thought process and kind of going through the questions that were sent out about how we move forward on materializing a little bit better documentation kind of thing. Still a little foggy in general on what the expectation is out of our group. I mean, our group knows what we need to do our processing and all those kinds of things, the reasons for it. Not exactly sure how it fits into the scheme of, we don't necessarily need to get into the standard side of things, for example. It's not really up to us to decide what to record. It's more along the lines of this is the stuff that we do record. So it's basically waiting for somebody else to tell us what they want. But the bigger picture items are, from my perspective, and I think the groups agree to it, is trying to figure out how to make things better. And with that focus, it's kind of amounted to, okay, how do we handle doing things? Everybody's kind of stuck on the idea of trying to figure out how to handle the system that they've got. And at the same time, I personally would like to push along the idea this is a new way of doing something, so that we can get a lot of these ideas that people have about trying to solve the problems out there with a new process for grabbing things moving forward. Doesn't mean I have to ignore the old stuff, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. So that's about generally where we're at.
Yeah, maybe Bob, this is Barb, just to comment on the expectations. Just one of the expectations would be, can your group develop some guidelines? So if you go into a new municipality or a new contractor or a new facility operator, what kind of processes and techniques would you recommend? So that would be part of the expected outcomes.
Okay, that's easy enough to do, but it's only going to amount to kind of a fractional piece of things, because there's only so much that can overlap a lot of the different disciplines that are coming into play. But I understand where you're going.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Bob.
Okay. Moving right along. Valerie, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Steve. So our outreach team met on Tuesday, and we have started our discussion on the possible groups to get in front of to promote UUMPT and its best practices initiatives. Some of the feedback I got from the group is to receive a short summary on the purpose of the UUMPT group and what its overall goal is to share when we start the outreach. And so maybe Barb and Steve, I can follow up with you separately on getting that paragraph created. Once we have this, the group's going to begin outreach to engineers and organizations such as APWA, as well as committees that the outreach team sits on. I also want to mention that as last month, Infrastructure Resources, the company I work with, published an article on the Minnesota UUMPT, which is out now, and it discussed the purpose of the group. And if you want to see a copy of that article, you can go to dppro.com. If you want to get hard copies of the article, you can certainly follow up with me, and I'll be happy to send you some hard copies. I also want to mention that our managing editor of DP Pro is going to reach out to Barb on her suggestion of a possible additional article for our fall issue. That would be on the pilot project that the Go State One group was working on, I believe this past year, and the technology on the project. And so we're just wrapping up some final things on this past issue, and we'll be following up with Barb shortly. And then, of course, we'll continue to promote the group on social media, such as LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., to make sure that we get the word out about the group.
Yeah, Valerie, I will send you the information on the mission statement and some background there. And
Great.
then also in that same DP Pro was the article by Adam Franco on the WMS for the One Call Concepts product. And he had presented that at this group several months ago. So actually we had 2 articles in that DP Pro magazine, which is great. So thank you for that outreach.
Our pleasure.
Valerie, you forgot to mention that the Minnesota Government e-publication also included the snippet. So thanks for your hard work on the outreach effort. And yeah, cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
And my favorite guy to throw under the bus. Dean Parker's up. Maybe not. Dean.
Oh, everyone, I had to unmute. So as I mentioned, the leadership group last week, not a lot going on in our group currently. We're waiting to see what we need to do to support the other groups, primarily 1 and 2, in terms of what their needs are. It is evident to me, just based on comments that I hear from the field, the people that I'm talking to, and also the review of the NUAR UK report, that the data sharing agreements and confidentiality and authorized use are all significant issues to be dealt with. So we are going to start working now on an outline of what might be in a data sharing agreement for reaction by the other groups. And I've got Heather McArn, one of my partners who happens to be a national data privacy expert. And so she's going to be helping us out with this.
Outstanding. Thank you, Dean. Barb, you got any comments?
No, that's great. It's good to get started on laying out these agreements.
Yep. And as soon as I get the thing over from Ian Ross at Scottish Vault, what they had for the disclaimer and what they've got for the links to legislation, I'll make sure you get that, Dean.
Yes, very much looking forward to getting a look at that.
Yep, there you go. Okay. I think that brings us down to right on schedule. If you were king, queen for a day, the top fix you'd make happen. So if anybody's out there thinking that the answer is to get rid of beavers, you would be wrong. So in case you missed it, some beavers chewed up some fiber optic cable, and folks in Canada didn't like that too much. So there you go. You all should have received a question sheet up to this point, which is designed specifically to try to prime the pump on thinking about this sort of an issue and maybe try to refocus all of us on an easy way to start moving forward in the process for where we are right now is to boil it down to something really simple. Take one item and go, here's the item my group would like to talk about. What do we think the issue is, and what do we think the answer is? But rather than doing that today, what we're looking to go ahead and try to do is to run down the list and see where we are for what individuals that are on the call think what is the number one issue that if they could be king or queen for the day, what they would like to see changed or fixed. So there we go. Adam Franco, I believe you're on the line. Are you ready, willing, and able to talk on this issue?
I have a pretty terrible connection. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so what could I fix is the question. If I was king for the day, what would I fix as it relates to the projects that we're working on? Is that?
Yeah, I mean,
for me, I think it's coming up with universal solutions. We have so many different platforms and so many different data sets and data types that are out there that are in use. And the solution to me isn't getting everyone to use the same software and the same platforms. I think the solution is to some extent more middleware, finding out that central piece that can translate all those different tools that folks are using so that we can make access more universal.
So easy connections. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. I'm writing that one down as, Adam, if I understand you correctly, it being the issue of a middleware piece to be able to make everybody talk to one another. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
A translator, if you will, to allow all the different tools to work together.
Got it. Adam Worm, I believe you're with us also.
Yeah, I'm here. The one thing I would change if I were king for the day would be creating a legal mandate to turn data over to the eventual, whoever's running this once we're all done with the project and have everything set up. I'm going to sound like a broken record, at least to my team, but I really think that's going to be one of our biggest challenges is getting data from hundreds of different organizations and getting it frequently.
Okay. Is there a range of data you're thinking, or just generically?
Just generically, I think it's going to be difficult to convince organizations to turn their data over to us. I know we've talked in the large group about some industries are particularly sensitive about turning over data, but I just see a lot of smaller organizations, especially treating this as something sort of extraneous or optional. And I think just without that legal mandate, like the Colorado presentation we witnessed talked about, I think it's going to be difficult to get accurate, up-to-date info from a bunch of organizations around the state.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Andy,
Adam, this is Dean Parker. I hope that you'll talk to Barb afterwards if there's some specific situations that you're aware of that you think need help, because she can maybe get involved in some back channel efforts to kind of free things up sometimes.
Adam does it for Adam Worm, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Andy Berg, are you with us? I didn't see him check in, so I believe in fact, if I was smart enough, I could be running the roster here. Anna Boroff, I believe, is not with us today. Bob Esquez, you're on deck, sir.
Well, cool, because I was going to basically double up on what Adam Worm said related to kind of a mandate. That's something that's always rolling around in the back of my brain about how do we get people to contribute. Even the information that we have from a municipal perspective, it's all related to recording everything after the fact, as building, if you will. And if you need to really think about it in a simplified form, what this is metadata. It's data about data. So that's really what we're trying to solve here, is trying to figure out how to keep the metadata up to date and kept clean. And if we can figure that out, that's going to solve a lot of this.
So I took Adam's comment to be one that drove the requirement to provide the data. You're also talking about the requirement to provide data in a certain way. Would that be true or not?
I might be a little bit cleaner on, trying to describe it, but it's essentially the same thing that Adam says. There's not really an incentive for anybody to keep this data up to date. There needs to be some kind of a mandate, either from inside the organization or externally for some other reason, like, one call basically says that, this data is needed for this, this, and this. In many cases, the organizations are going to see that it's going to benefit them as well. But for any practical purposes right now, we don't have an incentive internally to do a lot of this kind of capturing of the data and maintaining it. We're too busy everybody's too busy doing other things and just trying to keep the projects rolling.
Okay. Brad indicated he would not be able to make it. Brandon, I don't believe you checked in. So that takes us down to Damon, which we found out is not afraid to tell us what he thinks.
It's all right. And just to be clear on that last one, the technology that you mentioned from your aviation day and what you were saying is solid. It's the ability to use it in the circumstances that we want to use it, right?
I'm with you. I'm just,
right.
we're just trying to have a little fun here.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, if I was king for a day, I mean, there's a whole laundry list, but really what it comes down to is assuming that we're collecting data that can be tracked in a GIS system. It's the access to it and the sharing. It's the ability to bid and plan a project and having the ability to see and plan for where utilities are underground prior to calling in the one ticket a couple days before all the crew and equipment are sitting there ready to dig.
Perfect point. Absolutely got it. It's in the construction process, being able to be proactive in knowing what's there, so you can accurately bid, like was described by Colorado, and again, you're saving time when your stuff is there.
Well, and for us, and for us, even more important is the safety factor of being able to plan.
Got it. Thank you. Dana is not with us. Dave, I do not believe is with us. David Phillips, I know you're here.
Yes, I'm here. And I would like to see some type of common operating environment that everybody can contribute to. I mean, outside, if you get everything all legally straightened out, then it's going to be like, well, we're MicroStation, we're ArcGIS, we're AutoCAD, we're Small World, we're this and that, and it has to be some type of Swiss Army knife that can get everybody on the same page, so everybody can pull from the same data set, and then also have some ability to mandatorily keep it current. Don't let it get stale.
That's so you're tracking right along with what we heard from Adam and from Bob.
Yes.
We're there. Yep. Okay. Dean, what do you got?
I was looking at it much more simply than most of the rest of the technical people. I just thought more accurate maps for the existing infrastructure. That's what I see as a huge issue. The new infrastructure, it looks like we've got a lot of technology solutions that are at least, capable of accurately recording XYZ position, and we're at least on a path where it's becoming much more cost effective, but it still looks like a challenge for the existing infrastructure. Although I think Adam probably gave Santos a good idea, snow tires for that tool. For the existing gunky pipes.
Got it. So more accurate maps for what's there, and if you will, a thoughtful approach on data collection and sharing for new construction. Is that kind of how you would sum it up?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Elizabeth, I think you're here with us today.
Yes, I am here. Hello.
Can't, we're having a, are you there?
Okay?
Very, very faint, Elizabeth.
Let me try.
Is that better?
Oh, hugely better.
Okay. So just to let you know, my main responsibility with CenturyLink is I register our local network with all the one calls. So in my world, accurate maps or accurate data due to migration issues, over the years from one system to another system to another system, we have, some land-based shifts and such that we are constantly correcting, so it is something that we're working on, but in my world, it would be very beneficial if the data that I worked with was more accurate, so then I can pass it along to the one calls in a more accurate fashion. So that would be my wish if I was queen for the day.
Could I ask you to talk real quickly about historically or I don't want to say historically, but what we keep hearing from folks is all the utilities play together well except for the telecoms. Do you believe that to be true as far as not wanting to share your data?
Well, there are reasons why they won't share some data, and that's security. That's mostly the national network. As I've been part of this group and it seems like some of the data wants to be shared, I might have to check to see what I can share on what platform. And it's mostly security issues. I'll share if I can, if they let me. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Gary, I don't believe you are with us today, which takes us down to Hawthorne. Didn't check in. Joe, you're with us. I know that.
I am indeed. Thank you. So I'm going to kind of echo what David was saying and take a little bit of a turn. He was talking about the, kind of the unifying the environment that everybody's working within. I'm going to extend that out to actually include the process as a whole. And what I mean by that is I think most of the folks in the group know that we've been talking about some pretty extraordinary technology that's out there that's come to the market, in recent years, and more specifically in the past year itself. And a lot of that ties back into the GSOC pilot projects that we're working on. But with great regularity, what we're finding out is we've got this cutting edge technology for incredible accuracy in our data collection methods. And inevitably, the utilities we're meeting with are extremely stubborn in trying to figure out how to accommodate that new technology in their old information systems. And so they're in a rut with their old information systems, and they'll blatantly tell us how inaccurate those systems are. That's the reason they're looking for improvements in accuracy, but yet they're not willing to adapt their old information systems to the new technology. They're trying to make the new technology fit into their old information systems. So moving that forward, I think we've got to kind of bring this whole group together and offer again that global insight that's going to give some formal explanation of how we address the entire process, from collections to migration of information, ultimately with the intention of having open sharing of the information as well.
Institutional inertia. They're stuck. Got it. Thank you, sir. Good one. Johnny let me know he would not be able to make it. And we got 2 Justins in a row. Are either of you here? Going once, going twice. Keith, have you joined us? I think we're down to, we might all be.
I want to add to what you just said there. The institutional inertia part. I think a big part of it is just bandwidth too, and help needed. So
Yeah, no, help needed. Got it. Yeah, we've talked about this with regard to the smaller utilities, not having the capability to bootstrap themselves up, and you also have the other issue of the older generation not wanting to rock the boat. So 2 kind of different elements, but good points. Thank you. I think we're all the way down to, correct me if I'm not wrong, Nick, I believe you're next up. Is there anybody?
Did I jump in real quick? This is Luke Shooting. I'm new with the Office of Pipeline Safety, so Mike Mendiola asked me if I'd be on.
Oh, hey, thank you very much for joining us. Is it Shooty? Is that how you say it?
It is Shooting, yes.
Yeah.
So thanks for having
me. Shooty Lumber from where I came. Go ahead.
So I watch a lot of sci-fi movies, and my comment's going to kind of go along with Adam, Bob, Dan, and Joe talking about all the data we're collecting. But on my side, it's how we visualize it out in the field. So I'd love to see, some augmented reality glasses, or maybe it's built into the backhoe, something like that, where we can actually visually see those lines. I'd love to see us get to that point in maybe 10, 20 years, where the operator sees it right in front of his face, not just with paint, but the actual line kind of flashing in his face.
Yep. Okay. So your goal would be that we're looking to move the process forward faster to get to the day when all this fancy technology works in the field without a spray can. Would that be another way of saying it?
I'd say so, or along with the spray cans, another way to be safe. I know the augmented reality glasses are out there being used in other fields.
Yeah.
So that part is already being created. So just making it so that data is available for that type of thing.
Okay. We're losing you in and out, but
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, we got the idea though, I think. Thank you very much for sitting in for Mike. That's much appreciated.
All right, thank you.
Then I think we're down to Nick.
Yeah, most of my thoughts kind of echo what's already been said. Everything with centralized hub for data to be shared and uploaded to, along with better data, better metadata, better attribute information. But one thing I just thought about when you're talking about the smaller utilities that might have a more difficult time adopting some of these newer technologies. I don't know. Is there any? I don't know if it would ever work out, but maybe develop some sort of GIS cooperative for smaller entities, whether it's municipalities or utility companies that can maybe have a shared resources. I don't know how that would look, but I don't know. It's just a thought.
No, there's actually a cooperative of, I think it is 15 or 16 of the metro cities. And I forget the name of it. Maybe somebody can chime in from the GIS community that actually does that. That they're smaller towns. They don't have their own dedicated GIS service. What does somebody pipe in?
Logis.
Logis, thank you very much. So that Logis model, that's a great idea. Thank you very much. Anything more, Nick?
No, that's it, and that's good to hear. That's already something being done. I didn't know about that. So
yeah, it isn't specific to underground infrastructure
gotcha.
or utilities. It's just in general. So, but the model's there. So great idea. Paul, floor is yours, sir. Unless we lost you. You're on mute. Paul, you still with us? I guess not. Santosh, what do you think?
So again, my thoughts to you. The first thing is there should be a federal or a state legislation mandate, as Adam, Bob, and other people kind of echoed. That's going to be driving the requirements. And one of the important thing is what's the accuracy we want our data to be, which is what the subsurface utility engineering ASCE is coming up with quality levels of the data. So if you're updating the data on the GIS system, those need to be connected back with a quality level. I mean, again, if someone is giving a level 5, which is not that accurate, and someone is giving a level 1, which is accurate, there should be some kind of a tagging has to happen to make sure what the quality of the data that's been uploaded. And again, as other people kind of mentioned in the past, there should be a defined process workflow where this data is collected, stored, and communicated. So the workflow is something very important, which will enable to put the data in a common repository, which is highly data secured. I know that some of the telecoms are not really interested to share their whole network system, but again, that's something has to change. And we always forget about one of the things, which we always talk about the existing pipes in the ground, which are in service. We talk about the new installation, but we never talk about the abandoned lines, which is something has to be brought to the light because CGA considers abandoned line in the pipe, abandoned pipeline underground as an active line. So that's something we have to have a proper planning. Now all this is tied back to the complete process workflow, which Montana has kind of defined a basic model. They call it as a utility permit administrative system. So I think that's where the things need to move to get to make it much more better than what we are today.
Thank you very much. Let's see who else should still be with us. I think, is there anybody between Santosh and Travis? Go once.
I'm here, Steve. Troy.
So Travis is up next. Troy, you'll jump in after Travis.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Yep. So no, it's okay. Better overshoot than undershoot. Let's do it.
I think both of us will. We don't have much probably to say, Troy, because everybody already kind of took everything. But I'm with, I guess, what Luke was saying. My overall dream of this whole thing is the one call disappearing. No, not the one call. I guess the guys actually coming out and doing the locates. I think that's what the future lies 40, 50 years down the road, so when I have to go plant a tree, I can call 811 and then they send me a file I can load up on my phone and walk out on the front lawn and see where all the utilities are marked and not have actually paint and flags in the ground to show me that. So that's what we're working to. Of course, we're a big part of the pilot program, and I don't have much problems with the institutional inertia you guys are talking about. I think everybody's excited for this technology, at least most of the people I deal with. And the learning curve, there is a learning curve there, but we do have all kinds of videos to help them out. And that for the most part, everybody's pretty self-sufficient after the first week or so, and they're moving right along. So we've got a lot of exciting developments. So it's just getting that information out in the field. There's so much information of marketing tools out there, on Twitter or whatever other platforms of people wanting to sell stuff, saying this is the end all solution for everything. And really a lot of the solutions are aggravating to me, including what Damon and I were talking about at the beginning of this, is the field notes for Esri. You'd think that these big institutional people would build an app that would make everything work together. They got the money and the funds to do it, but they just don't have the know-how. They don't know how to glue these pieces together. And that's what's so frustrating is, we're trying to glue things together with a map versus a locator and everything. And it's like these companies don't talk to one another and really understand what the field guy needs and what the people in the desktop need. So that's me. I could go on forever, but I'll let Troy go.
Okay, look at that. Troy, he gave you the floor.
Very true, Travis. I like what you said. Yeah, they've kind of covered most of what I feel too. I agree. A common repository for data to be uploaded that's QA QC'd. It can be. There needs to be a team that verifies this to make sure its authenticity has been checked. The quality is there. The repository that could be controlled so that telecommunications companies can input their data at a limited level if need be. And I would like to see it where it could be broken down, state, regionally, city, county, township. You could access this information and the quality, whether it is a grade A, B, C, or D. That would be my dream coming from the augmented reality perspective. What good is augmented reality if the data you're presenting is no good? And we'd love to have access to that good data.
Can I get you to talk, just put on your hat for a second, from your construction background? Is there anything, I know there's other folks online here, but in your circumstance, is there anything that pops into your head from the back?
Well, I mean, as I was an equipment operator, I myself had cut a 20,000 volt line at one point in time with a backhoe, and I thought I was going to die. You have one experience like that, and you realize the gravity of how important it is that the information that's being presented digitally could be life and death. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, Steve.
No, that's good. It drives home the safety concept that I believe Damon was beaten on earlier. So excellent. Thank you. And poor Valerie, you're the caboose on this deal.
No, that's good. And I think this has been a really interesting conversation, hearing, what people would want if they're king or queen for the day. And so I think this gives me some ideas as to, future articles that we can promote and or publish and then disseminate this information once we kind of get it into a finer package.
Yeah, it was interesting to me to hear the perspectives that seemed to kind of trend down, a couple of different specific areas. And I was expecting to hear that we were going to hear stuff that was kind of like all over the place. But I guess when you boil it down, it does come down to a handful of things. So We're going to open the floor right now, and based on other comments maybe that you've heard as we've wandered through the list here, is there anything anyone else would like to contribute at this point on anything?
Hey, this is David. Somebody mentioned something about historical legacy underground data, abandoned pipes, those kind of things. I worked for a pipeline company a while ago, and I asked my manager a dumb question. I said, why won't we go out there and try to actually physically locate all of our assets? And he looked at me and said, we don't do that. You know, and then he explained it later that it's very cost prohibitive to go out and do that. So it'd be nice to have a cost effective way to be able to uncover all these underground utilities that we know are out there, and that, like Troy said, could possibly be live or active, and you don't know where it is, and then you hit it, and then boom. And I know in my industry, people have actually died from hitting gas pipelines that were mismarked and mislocated. So that'd be my wish list: finding all these ancient, basically going through being an archaeologist and finding all the ancient historical utilities that are out there.
Barb, you can probably expand on this, but it's state law to mark the abandoned stuff.
In Minnesota, it's law to mark the abandoned, but it has, in my opinion, low compliance.
Could somebody, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit ignorant on this one. I thought from some of our previous discussions that if they were working in an area and a locator came across abandoned pipeline or unmarked pipeline, that they really weren't doing any follow-up. But Barb, are you saying that it's actual Minnesota law and we're just like not following it, or what?
Well, no, the law says that the utility operator has to mark their abandoned lines.
Okay.
There's nothing in the law that says if you find an abandoned line that you have to.
Okay, I got it.
Two different halves of that question.
Got it. Okay.
I think one of the biggest things that we have to tackle is this sharing of data. Again, the magic wand approach would be that the utilities would just all of a sudden get the mindset that we've got to share this data, be it with a web feature service or some way to get it so that people in the field can see it. I think if we had that breakthrough, we'd work through a lot of the other issues. That's just kind of what I'm thinking.
I think that's kind of the nature of your pilot project too, Barb.
Yeah.
I think people need to realize that the technology exists right now for the extremely accurate collection of that data. And that's why utilities have previously been apprehensive to share that data, is because I think they were largely uncertain about the accuracy of it. And they didn't want to be liable for having shared that information and ended up with an incident.
I think that's your biggest marketing channel too. Once somebody starts sharing their data and the excavators start seeing some of this information appear on the ticket, or it's useful for them, they'll say, hey, Austin, Minnesota shared their data and it's really been useful. Why aren't you guys doing it too? And it's going to kind of catch on.
And then we get to the big
they're all
companies.
independent pieces of the puzzle, but you can't complete it without all of them. You have to have the data, you have to have a way to share the data, you have to have a place to collect and store the data, and you have to have a way to utilize the data on the back end.
Yeah, I'm just saying the biggest roadblock. Yeah, the biggest roadblock I see right now is the sharing of the data. We're able to share it, but the willingness to share the data.
I think there's a big piece to it related to having something in place versus just saying that we want to be able to share the data. I've always been of the mind that if you build the system, the data will come. And that's kind of the approach I've taken over the years, and that seems to bear fruit on more than one occasion. But you do need that initial kind of push to get something going and get it started. Even if you don't have a complete system up and running, at least then you've got a mechanism to say, here, if you're going to share your data, here's where it goes.
Yeah, that's why I like the virtual data sharing using the web tools, because they don't have to give it up.
Well, I think you're going to have to do a lot of stuff related to mixing and matching. People are using data in all different kinds of forms. it may homogenize into something a little bit more standardized, over time. But in order to get things started, we're going to have to be able to handle data in all different kinds of formats.
Okay.
If I could add something to the thought that Travis and I believe Joe were working earlier. The idea that we're now capable of basically the technology's there. The hurdle is the attitude. And what I'm wondering is if this is a perfect place to draw Valerie in from the perspective of, and I'm asking this as a question in terms of the publications that are out there, that maybe just like DP Pro is not the only place we should be thinking about trying to reach decision makers at, gas companies or, whatever utility you can think of. Maybe there's some other publications that are higher up the food chain as far as, what folks are looking at, that it'd be important to communicate the message to the top of the food chain to have it maybe filter on down. That was my comment.
Our group can certainly look into that, looking at some other publications that would, be a good source for us to publish this information.
Yeah, this whole thought process overlaps a lot of other disciplines besides underground, infrastructure management side of things. From the municipal side all the way up to transportation, there's pieces for assets in general, just out in the field, that a lot of these same systems can be used to solve problems for. So if we can figure out how to make this underground stuff attractive as a user tool in all of these other organizations, that's the thing to shoot for.
Well, if anybody has any suggestions for me, please feel free to contact me and give me some ideas. My email is Valerie, VALERIE, saving-lives.com. At irsaving-lives.com.
And for anybody that's registered, you can at any time go in on the contact list on our webpage. If you got a registered account, you can open up the master index, and all the contact information is readily available there too. So just a reminder about that. Okay, anything more from the floor? Going once, going twice, gone. I know everybody's real busy here. Well, let me see what we got going on here. I think, Valerie, you sent around your email address, probably. Yep, there it is. I'll leave it up on the screen for a bit. Luke, I'll go ahead and make sure I get a hold of you, get you loaded up in the connect up for the meeting information. And let's see if there's anything else here. Nothing I think that we need to dig down into. With that, Barb, the floor is going to come back to you. Let's see what else we got here. Our next meeting info goals, our next meeting, pencil it in May 27th, same time, same place. Okay, drum roll, please. From the list of questions that were sent out to you, what we would like to see you do is during your small group meeting, pick one item and develop a discussion recommendation from your small group. And that format has been posted before. And basically all you got to do is take one of those questions and flip it around from a question into a statement, and then explore it further and give us a recommendation. Doesn't need to be fancy. It was designed to be used in the military. So the IQ level is not like way off the spectrum. So come on, that's what we'll look for from. That's all you got to do for your next small group meeting. Okay, Barb, floor's yours. Sorry, I got carried away.
No, I appreciate the meeting today. I think we had a good discussion, and this last section where everybody talked about what they would do if they're king or queen for a day, I thought was very excellent. I think at our next meetings, we'll have to find some different topics or questions to get everybody's opinion. I thought that was a good process. So, because I really like to hear what was on people's minds today. So that's what I have, and I hope you have a good month between now and the end of May. I know we're all really, really busy.
Okay. With that, one last chance. If anybody's got, something else they need to toss on the floor, going once, going twice, gone. Thank you everybody for making the meeting. And just remember, if you aren't fired with enthusiasm, you'll be fired with enthusiasm. Vince and Marty, take care.